Dimension and density. What is the universe really built from? Reframing how we see the universe. Try to imagine this. Right where you are sitting, within the same cubic meter of space, there may exist multiple realities at once, not somewhere far away, not in another place, but right here. This is not imagination. It is a structural fact. At its deepest level, the universe is not a single layer. You are seeing one world. But that does not mean you are seeing the whole universe. Just like a city filled with radio waves, satellite signals, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, all present simultaneously in the same space. You cannot hear them, you cannot see them. Not because they do not exist, but because your biological structure is not designed to synchronize with them. This leads us to the core idea of this video. The universe is not organized by matter. The universe is organized by dimension and density. When these two concepts are understood clearly, discussions about the multiverse, parallel realities, higher beings, or other dimensions no longer require belief. They become logical consequences of how the universe is structured. Part 1. What is a dimension? A dimension is not merely a geometric measurement. It is not just length, width, or height. A dimension is a complete domain of existence. It is an existential environment defined by its own foundational conditions: how space is structured, how time operates, how energy behaves, and what allows matter and beings to exist within it. You can visualize a dimension as the ocean, the land, or the sky. They coexist on the same planet, sometimes even in the same physical space. Yet they are not the same environment of existence. A being born within a dimension has its entire structure aligned with that dimension. Its biology, energy dynamics, and modes of interaction are designed to function there. Part 2. The universe is not single-layered. The universe is not a homogeneous block. Within the same universal system, multiple dimensions can exist simultaneously. There may be material dimensions, energy-based dimensions, dimensions not dependent on matter, dimensions not governed by linear time. These dimensions can overlap spatially and coexist without mixing their conditions of existence. The fact that humans perceive only one dimension does not mean others are rare or speculative. It simply reveals that humans are compatible with only a very narrow domain of existence, within a far larger universal structure. Part 3. What is density? If dimension is the existential environment, then density is the internal structure within that environment. Density refers to different frequency bands of existence within the same dimension. Energy within a dimension is not evenly distributed. Vibrational structure is not uniform. As a result, a dimension is not a flat layer, but a spectrum. Each density is a stable frequency band, a distinct layer of reality, a subdomain of existence. Density is not emotion. It is not a psychological state. It is not something that changes by desire or belief. Density is an objective structure of the universe. Part 4. Direct analogy. Ocean, land, sky. Look at Earth. On the same planet, in the same spatial location, the ocean, the land, and the sky exist simultaneously. They are not separate worlds, yet they are governed by entirely different conditions: pressure, density, resistance, and life support mechanisms. Fish are structured to exist in water. Their entire biology is compatible with the ocean environment. Humans are structured to exist on land. They can enter water temporarily, but cannot live there permanently, and cannot fly biologically. Birds are structured to exist in air. They can fly, walk on land, and some can even dive into water. No organism is higher or lower. There are only different existential structures, compatible with different environments, within the same world. The universe operates by the same principle, but at the scale of dimension and density. Part 5. Density as frequency bands. Radio, AM, FM. In the room where you are sitting right now, there exist AM waves, FM waves, Wi-Fi signals, satellite transmissions, and broadcast frequencies. They are all present simultaneously, overlapping in the same space. You do not perceive them, because your ears are not the appropriate receivers. A radio can only receive the frequency bands it is designed to receive. Other bands still exist, but lie outside its synchronization range. Density in the universe operates in exactly the same way. Different layers of reality coexist without interference because they occupy different frequency bands of existence. Part 6. Density, beings, and structural asymmetry. Each density permits only beings whose structure is compatible with it. Beings do not exist where they wish. They exist where their structure allows them to exist. Here, an important asymmetrical law appears. Lower dimensions cannot independently move into higher dimensions. Higher dimensions can move, or express themselves, into lower dimensions. This is not mythology. It is not an exception. It is a structural law. Beings of higher dimensions possess more flexible structures. They are less bound by matter, and can reduce their density of expression to appear within lower dimensions. Beings of lower dimensions lack the structural capacity to operate within higher dimensions. Part 7. Geometric analogy, 3D and 2D. A three-dimensional object can pass through a two-dimensional plane. A two-dimensional being would perceive only cross-sections, partial projections, incomplete phenomena. Likewise, higher dimensions can appear within lower dimensions, but lower dimensions cannot perceive the full structure of higher dimensions. Part 8. Synthesis, the structure of the universe. The universe is composed of multiple dimensions. Each dimension contains multiple densities. Densities are distinct frequency bands of existence. Each density has compatible beings. Densities overlap without interference. Higher dimensions can express into lower dimensions. This is not belief. This is how the universe is structured. Opening interdimensional awareness. Now consider this. If the universe is truly composed of dimension and density, then the reality you see is only one frequency band within a vast spectrum of existence. What you call the world may simply be the channel your structure is tuned to. What you do not see does not mean it does not exist. It exists at a different frequency and within a different dimension. Lack of perception never equals non-existence. The universe is not scarce in life. On the contrary, the universe is saturated with life and saturated with existence across countless dimensions and densities. The greatest limitation of humanity is not technology or science, but the unconscious assumption that what we see is the entire universe. When you begin to view reality through the structure of dimension and density, you no longer approach the universe through belief, but through epistemic humility. And from that humility, the doorway to interdimensional awareness truly begins to open. Not to escape this world, but to understand that this world has never been all that exists.